hello and happy Friday and happy first Friday down here in Rhinecliff. We're here at the Epicurean, a.k.a. the Corner Store. Thanks to Patricia Wind for hosting Radio Free Rhinecliff, radiofreerhinecliff.org. Though I guess you probably already tuned into that. I'm Norm. I'm your host. This is the show Correct Me If I'm Norm, and I'm thrilled to have David Michel, if I said that right, here with us tonight. David is the well. You tell us. Who are you?
That was perfect.
Thank you.
And are you thrilled?
You know why? Because of all of the guests I had, sorry other guests, you were the one that everybody's like, oh, you got him. That's so great. That's so awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Well,
why the hell would anybody want to talk to me?
I don't know. Well, you look friendly and you're handsome. You got a great voice. And you're just on this TV show, Cash in the Attic, and you're a storekeeper here in Rhinebeck, which is kind of a celebrity position because people go to stores and they know the store shopkeepers.
Yeah, that was actually a big thing that when I opened the first location on Garden Street,
right?
I'm friends with a bunch of the moms and dads here in town, and there was one day that one of the dads came in, and he's got like all his kids with him. They're all running around. I'm showing them comics and stuff. And he and I just kind of start chatting. And he's like, so are you ready for like what's to come? And I'm like, what's to come? He's like, you're a town dad now. And I'm like, yeah, I've got a son. And he's like, no. Like, you're a shopkeeper that has a shop where kids hang out. He's right. You're like a new form of dad in town.
Right.
And I didn't really think about it until he said that. Like, it's when you have a business where it's like, you have elementary, middle school, high school kids all hanging out there. Within the first few months, I totally got what he said because I would get phone calls. Hey, it's so and so. Is my daughter still there in the back?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and like kids were taking phone calls from their parents, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm town dad now.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet because the kids were too young to have a cell phone of their own.
Yeah, exactly. And they drop them off there and be like, all right, I'll come back when I'm done shopping.
And so when you opened up, it was comic books.
It was comic books and board games.
Yeah. And why? Why did you decide to open a comic books and board games store?
Because when I moved here with my son, I had this whole future set in front of my eyes of being a single dad in a small town. And I was like, all right, what are we going to do? It's like I bought the giant screen TV and the PlayStation and the Xbox, and I was like, I'm going to be the cool house. But when we're actually in town, like, what are we going to do as he grows up? Like, where's he going to hang out? And it's like, we've got bars and the CVS.
Yeah.
So, I love comics, but creating a business where I was like, all right, a safe space for, families and kids.
Kid and other kids.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. And how old was he when you moved here?
I want to say he was 6 or 7.
Okay, so that's like first grade, or
he was starting second grade in Rhinebeck.
And how did you find it being a single dad, moving here with a kid that age?
It was. I had never experienced that before, but pretty quickly I was like, oh, this is actually not too bad. It's like half the week I'm a dad, which I've always been a dad ever since he was born. But then there was a whole other half of the week where it was like, oh, I'm just back to being me, like single, and I can do whatever the hell I want today.
Right.
That was awesome.
Well, somebody told me after my ex and I split up, they said, oh, well, that's the dirty secret of divorced parents, is that the half of the time you don't have your kids, it's like, oh yeah, this is nice. As you said, you get your life back.
Yeah. I love my children, but I also love being able to like go sit on a patio and have cocktails with my friends and not worry about like, oh my God, what's happening with my kids right now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so that was your experience as a recently divorced dad.
Yeah.
How was it? How did you find Rhinebeck? Was it welcoming to you?
Well, I chose it because I already had a lot of friends here.
Oh, good.
I bartended at Terrapin for a couple of years.
Oh, that's right.
And so I knew like most of the town.
Right.
And when it came time to find a place to live, I was like, oh, I'll just move where I know everybody.
Smart.
Yeah, and better school districts, so we didn't have to pay for.
And their drink order.
Yeah.
And though that's a perfect segue into your cocktail, I think we should talk a little bit more before we break out the cocktails. So I remember seeing you at Terrapin, and we had met before.
Yeah.
And I've told the story repeatedly how we met. I don't know why. I think it's funny. Do you recall? I want to hear your version.
Was I bartending?
You don't have to.
If I was bartending at the time, I probably don't remember.
You weren't.
Oh, I wasn't?
No, you're working in the front window of, I think, Jim Edelson's place in Kingston.
Oh, yes. Oh, I thought you were talking about like meeting me for the first time at Terrapin.
No, the first time we ever met.
The first time we ever met was when I was working for Pictora. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And what happened? I only ask because I remember, and I've told a couple of people leading up to this, and I'm always curious how people remember things differently, and how, like the name of the show, I get things wrong.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more I get things wrong. And two people see the exact same thing, and they remember it completely differently. So I just thought I'd ask.
Wait, were you?
Don't. I'm not answering questions. I'm asking them.
I feel like when I met you, you came in. Did you come in with John Sebastian?
No. I wish.
I don't. I'm drawing a total blank.
Okay. No, I saw you sitting in the window, and I came in. I said, "Oh, was Jim there? Was it Edelstein?
Edelstein. Yeah.
I said, "Oh, is Jim here?" Because I kind of vaguely knew him. And you said, "No, he's not here right now. Sorry." I said, "Well, actually, I want to talk to you." I said, "I'm casting."
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, I totally do remember that.
This is called aided recall, by the way.
I mean, remember, I have.
All right, finish the story. Yeah.
Yeah, you had come in and said that you were doing an ad campaign.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the campaign was for.
It was my headhunter in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were doing a series of ads with models in different agency roles.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was the CFO,
something like that.
I think, which is ironic because I'm horrible with money. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally profiled you. I'm like, oh, I need a good-looking black dude. And there's this guy.
Be like, do you have a suit? And I had a suit,
and you were amazing. And it was honestly, it might have been one of my favorite ad campaigns I did since living in Rhinebeck.
I mean, it was weird as hell. I'd never
modeled
or anything. Like, it was okay. I'm in my suit, and I remember the photographer trying to get me to my posture and all that stuff, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing here.
You were great. I have the pictures somewhere. I should send them to you.
Oof.
You look great. Well, it's like 12 years younger, so there's that.
Oh.
Or 10 years younger or something.
12 years younger me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't recall if you had hair then or not.
I did not. It was way longer than 12 years ago when I had hair.
And how did that go? So at some point you lost it. You shave your head some?
Yeah. I mean, I always told myself that because, you grow up, you see bald guys doing the thing, and it's like, really, man?
And then they become president and fuck up the country. Exactly. It's like, you don't want to do that.
I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
But I had always promised myself if it ever happened, I'll just go bald. And I was living in Los Angeles at that time, and I had just this mane of dreadlocks. And I want to see pictures. Oh, God.
Come on, Facebook tomorrow.
Oh,
Throwback Saturday.
There's a couple of pics. But it was my first time being in a one climate place.
Right.
And it started to get uncomfortable and hot all the time, and I was like, I'm just going to shave this off. And I did that. And after a while I was like, oh, I miss my hair.
Right.
So I just start growing it back one day, and after a few weeks, I pass by the mirror and I'm like, why does it look so weird? And I'm like looking and I'm realizing it's like getting bigger in like a number of places, but not in other places.
There's a Seinfeld episode like that. Where Elaine meets this guy and he's bald and he's like, I just like it, whatever. And she says, oh, what'd you look like with hair? And he shows her his driver's license. And she's like, oh my God, that's so sexy. You got to grow it back. So he goes to grow it back and like, it's not there.
Yeah. I feel like I may have done it to myself. Like
you blame yourself?
Yeah, because like I burned my hair, I bleached it, I colored it, I did so much crap to it that I feel like I just like destroyed my scalp.
Well, as previously mentioned, you're a very handsome man, so how it's working for you?
Alex thinks so. So that's
Alice.
Oh,
Alex.
Yeah,
that's the missus.
Yes.
Right. Is she the reason you were late, or was it the kids, the toddlers?
It's kind of our life was the reason.
Good answer. The diplomatic corps is going to call on your doors.
We, she works from home sometimes,
right?
And so she's working from home, and I've got all my booze together and stuff like that. But she's still on a Zoom meeting, and then there's like two toddlers in the living room, like poised to destroy the house.
Right. So how old are the toddlers?
They're going to be 3 in January. Yeah, man.
Right. Yeah. So they can run and wreck. And
pretty sure I also traumatized them today. Like they may. So
let's call that character building.
Yeah, Brian Tam, my business partner, he and I went to Spirit Halloween today.
Oh, geez.
And we were like, we got to get a lot of cool stuff for the shop window.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I got the boys in the back. I'm going to come pick you up. We drive over to Kingston and walk into the loudest, I guess, to a 2-year-old, scariest place in the world.
Right.
Because the music's just like insanely loud. You can't hear anything. And then everywhere you look, there's like bloody faces,
and
giant monsters
moving, and
and things that are like screeching at you and jumping out at you. And within a minute, they're saying, "I want to go home. I want to go home."
And you're probably like, "I wouldn't mind going home either." Those places are just too much. They're too much for me.
It was practically too much for me. So I just took them to the car, and then he did the shopping.
And how's Alex with that kind of stuff? Is she?
What do you mean?
Is she? If she were taking the kids there instead of you, would she be like, whatever, it's cool, we'll stay here, we'll get what we need?
No. She, well, for one thing, she's not big on Halloween. But if she was in a place that was that overwhelming for them, she'd, ditch it and go someplace else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, I'm not super big on Halloween, but when I moved here to Rhinebeck Village, my first year, the neighbors across the street said, well, we get like 600 pieces of candy. I'm like, what?
Dude, you do Halloween. And for somebody that doesn't really like it that much, you do it up pretty well.
It's, I enjoy an excuse to have a little party.
Yeah.
And I love, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I do like Halloween. What am I talking about?
Ever since I moved here, I like Halloween. Part of Halloween is walking by Norm's house.
Yeah.
And like just seeing you like chilling with a cocktail. Just
apple
tossing,
martini.
Yep, tossing candy.
I love giving candy to the kids. I do. I love seeing the kids come by.
Yeah, and
all right, there you go. Correct me if I'm Norm. I stand corrected. I guess maybe I do like Halloween. Wow. So you lived in LA. What were you doing there?
What was it? So when I first went there, it was just to visit my friends. I was going to be there for like 10 days. And then I had this notion in my head. I had never been to a desert before. So I was like, I'm just going to go into New Mexico and just walk around and like figure it out. Maybe I'll move there.
But you were in LA?
I went to LA to visit my friends before I was going to hop over to New Mexico to check it out.
I was going to say, because they've got deserts right outside of LA.
Yeah. I don't know. I just had this like romantic notion in my head of what New Mexico was like.
Where'd you go in New Mexico?
I did not, because my 3rd day in Los Angeles, My friends took me to a party, and the guy who lived there, after talking to him for a while, he was like, "Hey man, do you want a job?" And he like offered me a job at Tokyo Pop, which is this comic book company that it's like the American distributor of manga.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like so random, and I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, come to my office on Monday and like come talk to me."
And had you spoken about comic books at this party and stuff?
Probably. I always need a reason to bring up comics, cartoons, and all that other.
Interesting. So it's been a fascination since your youth.
Yeah, man. I haven't shaken it. It's the biggest junkie itch I got.
That's great. Now you're making it into a business.
Yeah.
And hopefully your partner is a good accountant, a good CFO.
Yeah, he is the reason why we still exist.
Oh, that's great. Well, so how old were you in LA when that happened?
Oh, I guess I was like 26, 27, maybe, something like that.
Where'd you gone there from, and where were you raised? Where'd you graduate high school and stuff?
Oh, Rockland County. Yeah, I graduated Spring Valley in 1994, and just kind of hung around Rockland for a few years too many, mostly because it was like a girl that I couldn't stop thinking about. And then one day I was like, I just got to get out of here. Like, you know, you can only smoke so much pot and, you know, drive around the same roads for so many years.
And what happened to the girl?
She moved out of the country. You know, she had her, like, we weren't, like, I was just very enamored.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know, there was never anything between us. And
you were just smitten.
I was smitten.
That's great.
And so I stuck around my hometown for quite a while.
Hoping that something might develop with this.
Yeah. And in the end, I'm like, she was way smarter. Like, there's no way we would have got, like, it was, you know, when you're young, you have romantic notions of stuff, and now as a 40-something-year-old person, like thinking back on it, I'm like, oh, that kid was an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I think back on me yesterday. I'm like, that guy. Think back on me 5 minutes ago when I said I don't like Halloween. Like, that guy was an idiot.
Yeah.
So much less looking back 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, it took me a while to really figure out. I mean, it's a cliche. It took me a while to figure out who I was and, like, you know, who I want to be.
Oh, look at you. All right, good. What's the answer to that question? Who are you and what do you want to be?
You know, I'm me, and I just want to be creative. Like, I'm constantly, you know, I'm writing, I'm making new experiences for other people around me. Like, I find that when there's something that I need that needs to be made in some way, I want to be the person figuring out how to make it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a maker.
Maker, which is a term that's sort of come up in the past 8 years or so. Maker and maker fairs with an E in the end and stuff.
Yeah, I think they use it different. Like, I'm probably not using it correctly.
Well, I don't know.
But yeah, all around, like, you know, writing and art and all that good stuff.
Right. So currently, I mean, I don't know when you'd have time for any of that. You've got the toddlers. You've got another son, right?
Yeah.
How old's he?
He's about to be 15 in December. He just started high school.
Where is he in high school?
9th grade. Oh, here in Rhinebeck.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he was the reason that I moved here.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then the twins came around later.
Yeah. And actually, he before, when I was getting ready to come here, I was like, "Hey, Diego, come, you know, keep an eye on them for a second," and you know.
And is he going to be listening, or will he listen later? Will he stream this?
He'll probably listen later. But
all right, come on, shout out to the people in your life.
All right, well, you know, we got hey Diego, thank you very much for looking after the boys outside for a bit, and then Alex is probably listening.
Yeah,
my lovely wife.
Yeah,
and
nicely done.
And Jet and Leo are probably pooping in their pants, not caring what is going on.
Smear it on the walls, and the cat and the dog and everything.
That's right.
They're running around and smear it in more walls. Yeah, I had 3 kids, and that was an interesting age.
Yeah.
When they were 2.5 and 3, when all of a sudden they had wheels. I'm like, I can't catch you.
Like they have wheels and also not enough comprehension.
Yeah.
Like they're just kind of loose in the world.
Yeah. It's the time of terror. And I think that's one of the things that people never tell you about being a parent is that you're going to live with abject terror all the time. That your kid's going to like run over a cliff or run into barbed wire or run into a mean dog or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yep.
And I think that's the age of peak parental terror. So hats off to you for being here and getting here on time.
Ish. I thought that, I don't know why I put the address of this place. I was like, oh, I'll just GPS so I know what time I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
And then it was like, turn here. And I was like, turn here? Isn't it over there? And then I turned and so.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I suffer from nervous hostess syndrome.
Oh.
So if the guests aren't all here, 10 minutes before the party starts, I start hyperventilating stuff.
I totally get it.
So I got to ask about the comics of your youth.
Yeah.
And you said Rockland?
Yeah.
So what were the comics you think that really just made you think, oh, this is a gorgeous art form. I love this so much.
Oh, man. God, it was, Amazing Spider-Man, because there was like this sea change of Spider-Man art when I was buying. Todd McFarlane like kind of started working on it. I always loved like John Romita and John Romita Jr., but Todd McFarlane was like this new kind of rock and roll illustrator who was like, I'm going to make it look like this. And Spider-Man's like, contorted in ways that nobody's ever seen. And there's just webs all over, like flying around him. And it was cool and different.
So you'd tuned into Spider-Man before, and then this guy Todd McFarlane comes up, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I was I was getting comics. I guess it was like 1983 or 4 was the first time I got a comic. And then by the time the 90s hit, it was shifting from, okay, the old guard is kind of going out, and here's this new guard of people coming in.
Right. Your old guard. They were the new guard for me. So I'm a lot older than you, and I started buying comics probably in like 68 or so. It was a nickel.
Silver Age, dude.
Went up to 10 cents.
That's the good stuff.
I know what that is. Go on, guess the comics that I loved when I was a kid.
All right, guess the comics that Norm
this is good. I love this.
I'm going to say you are a Doctor Strange Nick Fury guy. Jim Steranko was like doing really weird, tripped out stuff with Nick Fury, and it was like this very kind of swinging 60s spy stuff, and the art was just like wild and graphic designy.
Sounds cool. Never heard of it.
Oh, okay. So you're not a Marvel guy.
Well, I love the way this is going.
So you're not a Batman or a Superman dude. So were you more?
I believe I'm giving you my best poker face right now. Because you're fishing. Come on.
I am. Yeah. I'm like trying to think, what would Norm read?
Yeah, well.
Were you an Archie guy?
Yep.
All right.
Fucking loved Archie.
Archie is timeless.
I just, I loved Archie, and I'd go to the supermarket mostly, and if there was a new Archie, if I didn't have a nickel, I'd beg my mom for a nickel so that we could get the new Archie.
Nice.
And I read all the other stuff sort of in that realm. There was like one called like Little Dot.
Yeah.
A girl who loved dots.
Yeah.
Richie Rich loved Richie Rich.
Yep.
And
Sabrina, Millie.
Yes. Liked Millie. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I think they had a rock band.
Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh, that's Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah. And then they became a cartoon, which, like, that was my jam when I was a kid.
Really? Yeah, Josie and the Pussycats cartoon?
Yeah, because it's like a cartoon about a band of, like, cool chicks in costumes. And then they inexplicably go to space for an entire season, which was awesome.
So how old were you when Josie and the Pussycats became an actual cartoon?
I don't know when it started. Like I feel like it started in probably like 71, and by the time I caught it, it was just like kind of recycling.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like it was probably out a couple of years before me.
Right.
And they were just like throwing it back in syndications.
Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, loved it, man.
That's just great. So you have, I'm guessing, a collection of comic books from your youth.
Some from my youth left.
Do you remember any that you got rid of, and you really wish you'd have kept them? Maybe a whole bunch.
Yeah, there are a ton. When I opened the store, we were on Garden Street. Didn't get a lot of traffic going through there. There were days where, the most money I made was $16.
I stopped in and said hi.
Yeah. It's just that, nobody knew we were there.
That sounds so dismal.
And so little by little over like that year and a half, I brought a lot of my good stuff in and put it up on the wall and, sold it because, I started going through this mantra once, the hard times hit, and it was like, would I rather have a comic book or would I rather have a comic book store? And it always won out.
For you.
I would rather have a comic store. So
that's a good way to look at it.
I sold a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And are there any in particular you miss?
Honestly, there was one thing that I sold that I didn't get it when I was a kid that I kind of wish I really did not sell because getting it is nigh impossible at this point in my life. But I had a copy of Fantastic Four number 52, which was the first appearance of the Black Panther, and I ended up selling it actually not too soon before we moved to the new location. Okay. But I have a comic book store still, so
yeah. And of the sales in the comic book store, I'm curious, where do they come from? Do they come from comics and graphic novels and stuff to kids or to collectors? Or, and this is maybe another question, you've got an arcade. I don't know if that's back up or not.
That's actually that's one of the things I'm most proud of with what we've done. I feel like Brian and I have kind of created a shop where it's like it's not equal, but looking at the sales every day across the board, people are going in there and we'll see like somebody bought a bunch of graphic novels and like 2 albums, and they also bought a couple of toys, and it's very kind of spread out. Like people come in and they're like, oh, I kind of want a little bit of everything that these guys are laying so down. Cool. Which is really cool.
And what kind of albums do you have? Do you specialize in any particular kind of thing?
Yeah, Brian and I pretty much just kind of throw the stuff in there that we're into. So it's a lot of like punk metal, good hip hop, some good soundtracks, and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, listen, we're here. I passed by all the good segues. Now we're here about the halfway point, and I think we should have a cocktail.
Oh, yes.
Tell us what you brought.
So what I brought it's not a legit cocktail per se. It's
good.
It's like my take on kind of a rum punch.
Okay.
So I've got this bottle of Barbancourt rum, which is really tasty Haitian rum.
That's from Haiti, okay.
And I've got
any of your relatives from Haiti?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And so when did any of the relatives make the trip from Haiti to the U.S.?
My mom, I forgot what year exactly she came here, but she moved here to New York City in the 60s, and met my dad there. He was driving a cab, and then once they kind of got together and decided to get married and have kids, they moved to the suburbs to Rockland County.
Okay.
And fun story is when she got there, she used to nanny, and she was a nanny for B. Arthur, taking care of her son Matthew.
Oh my goodness!
And so like a lot of days she would spend, walking Matthew down the road to visit Burgess Meredith's kids, which is just
That's hilarious.
freaking awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're...
Actually, let me pull the glasses first just to get those ready. And I brought you special glasses, Norm.
Oh.
I don't ever really get to use these. So I brought you 2...
Wow. So you get a lime and a couple of airline bottles of Cointreau.
Yeah.
And there's a thing of pineapple juice.
Yep. And also some ginger brew.
Ginger brew. I think you opened this one.
Yeah. And I got a couple
glasses
of
are gorgeous.
little Swarovski crystal glasses for us to drink out of.
Matt, will you be joining us this evening? Matt never joins.
No. I forgot that there would be 3 of us, actually.
Well, there's a spare glass. I think the ice was in it.
Yeah.
All right, so Barbancourt rum. And different places in the Caribbean especially make different rums. And the flavor profiles are, I understand, all slightly different.
Yeah.
What is this rum like?
This is... So when you think back to like the dirty history of the Caribbean and you know the East India Trading Company and all the pirate rum and stuff like that, like this is the stuff.
Can I have a taste? Can you put a little in this beautiful Swarovski glass before?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
this is just a taste. Seriously, just a teeny tiny taste.
Like this is
perfect. Thank you so much.
You know, you look up in Webster's dictionary, rum, and it would be this.
Yum.
Yeah.
That is really delicious.
Super tasty.
Yeah.
So yeah. This is also, I have to say, not the first time that I've made drinks on a radio show.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, get your crap and get out. That's, the hell.
When I was working at Terrapin, Josh had, like, he's on the radio a lot, and he was on AMC up in Albany. Yeah. And he came to me one day and he was like, hey man, I'm supposed to go on the radio to talk about, like, I forgot what the occasion was, but it was something that also tied in with booze. And he was like, would you want to come on and just mix up some drinks? Like mix up an old fashioned.
Yum, my mouth just started watering.
And so I was like, yeah, sure. So we drove up to Albany one day, and I went on the air with him, and, you know, we chatted about old fashions, and, oh, I remember what it was. It was so weird. It was, Mad Men was, like, the new season of Mad Men was about to start.
Oh, nice.
And so he was like, yeah, let's do some, like, old-fashioned, some old fashions and kind of get that John Hammy vibe going on the radio.
That's great. So now there's lime juice, rum, pineapple juice, Cointreau. What am I forgetting? I think that's everything, right?
And then I'm going to top it off with some ginger beer.
Oh, yum. Huh. All right, give me the big one. That should be the name of the show. Give me the big one, please. Yeah. Right. It looks so good.
All right. I don't know how this came out. This is very impromptu. I'll take the one that has, like, the little bit in it.
A little bit. Okay.
And then where's the... I did have some toothpicks.
Oh, yeah. I thought I saw toothpicks earlier, too. But you could just spear them with that knife, I suppose. He's got pineapple chunks that are going into each glass with the concoction and the ice. And my mouth is still watering. So tell me again that you said it's a sort of bastardized version of something?
Yeah, it's like a bastardized rum punch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Hopefully this is good.
Thank you so much for coming. What a treat.
Yeah.
And for those following along at home, Matt, for the first time ever, is imbibing as well.
Chin chin.
Yum, that is so delicious.
That is tasty.
And a perfect way to get First Friday started here in Rhinecliff.
You know what? I'm gonna give myself a little floater.
A little floater of the rum.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what's good for the gander is good for the goose, or whatever the saying is.
I also, since I hang out with 2-year-olds 5 days a week, I really don't ever. Really, this is the first time I'm having a drink in like months, probably. So
That's nice because you need your wits about you.
yeah, most of the time.
And you and Alex take turns, sort of going out and not being with the kids. Like, oh, this is my night. Just let me have one night out.
I mean, I guess this would be my night out, right? right now.
Right. Well, Alex, if you're listening, the show goes until 10 p.m. So doesn't make it home right away. That's why.
We were actually just talking about how, you know, Monday through Friday, I'm taking care of the boys, and then Saturday and Sunday, it's usually her kind of taking them out and about. You know, she takes them birding a lot with her mom,
Right.
and I get to go to work. So there hasn't really been a lot of time for any type of, anything other than work and kids.
Right.
So,
so her mom's around somewhere? Does she ever babysit? You guys at least get to go out?
oh yeah, her parents are like
good.
gold. They live like
nice.
5 minutes away from us, and like the boys adore them.
Okay, special shout out to mom and dad.
Special shout out to Susan and Walt.
Are they going to be listening to this?
Probably at some point. I'm sure they will. I mean, they might be listening to it now.
Right.
Hey guys.
Wow. Well, what's next? What's for you? All these things: the TV show, the shop.
Right now I'm working on a middle grade graphic novel. A friend of mine is an agent, and she has been asking me to write a comic book that she could sell for me for
Wow.
for a while. So I've been writing a middle grade graphic novel, which was giving me a lot of trouble for a few months. And then a friend of mine here in town is a comic book writer, like a pro comic book writer for like 30 years. And she's written a lot of like, middle grade and YA stuff. And I kind of asked her for some advice. And we went out to lunch. She speaks to me for like an hour, and it was just like, bam! And I went home, and I've just been, on fire, just writing up a storm.
That's great. Mm-hmm. So how far along do you reckon you are? I mean, do you get to a point where you're like, oh, I can see where this is going to go and to conclude? That's
the exciting part for me, is that I know the whole story now. Before I kind of didn't, and I wasn't sure. Like I knew where I kind of wanted it to end, but after actually shout out to Elisa Quitney, thank you very much. After talking to Elisa and kind of her giving me the ins and outs of, just kind of writing this genre and and having an idea of where I was at that point, she helped me see like where the fat was, and also gave me a few pointers on like,
It's so nice to have a good editor.
Yeah, and now I know every scene. I've been kind of thumbnailing them out so that I know how many panels are going to be on each page and all that kind of stuff.
And so you draw as well, but you're not going to be the artist for the finished.
No, because I'm shit at that. I can safely say I'm a decent painter and illustrator. I haven't been able to in years because kids and business and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I've mostly been like writing, and at some point I hope to have some sort of studio space at our new house where like Diego's an artist, Alex is a metal worker, and she makes jewelry, and I want to kind of build just an all-around, like, kind of creative art space where we can all just kind of escape whenever we need to.
Great place for the kids to grow up in.
Fingers crossed we get it done.
And do you have the space there? Is it a big garage or an old barn or something?
Yeah, we bought a house just last November and moved in October, which was perfect timing because now if anybody that's looked at the market here in Rhinebeck,
buying a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I don't know how we were able to get, even at that time, we should not have been able to get this house for the price that we did. So thank you, whoever, out in the universe made that happen. Because if not, we would have been moving, like, I don't know, out of town somewhere.
Where do you think you would have gone?
We were looking all over. Like, I was looking at Hyde Park. We looked at Kingston. We looked at Red Hook, and there were a lot of possibilities. But in the end, it was like, if we do this, Diego's got to start a new school.
Right.
Not being right next to the business that I'm trying to help grow, and just all around. And it's just this is our town.
Right. But Hyde Park to some degree, and Kingston certainly to a large degree, a lot more diverse than Lily White Rhinebeck.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did you think about that as a
Dude,
father of?
I thought about that.
A black youth.
Yeah. I thought about that a lot actually when I was moving here because, like I said, I had a lot of friends here. I loved, hanging out in Rhinebeck, but growing up in Spring Valley, we had every nationality that you could think of was going to that school. And I just grew up kind of exposed to so many different cultures.
Right.
And the idea of kind of bringing him into a town that is, it's a very affluent, very white town.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but it was either that or send him someplace where maybe he wouldn't get as quite good of an education. We were sending him to Woodstock. His mom and I were paying for private school.
Oh, which one?
Day school.
Okay.
So when I moved here, I was like, hey, we can stop, paying that monthly bill, and he could just go to a really good public school, which also worked out for him because he didn't really kind of gel with the just the overall loose environment of the Woodstock Day School. It did not work for him.
Interesting.
As soon as he saw Rhinebeck Elementary, he was like, "This is a school?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "This looks exactly like the school I went to." He's like, "This is so cool."
That's so funny.
It was also the day that they were doing the what's it called?
The Fall Festival? I don't.
No, every year when they do the water slides and the bouncy houses and everything, it was like their field day.
Okay,
that was the day we got the tour, and I was like, "Look, man, dude, you got to know this is not what it's going to be like every day."
Right. Yeah, we moved here from the Woodstock Day School.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and Moss I think started 3rd grade here. I'm not swearing to it, somewhere right around there.
Yeah,
and the girls started in 7th and 9th grade.
So did they prefer the day school or prefer Rhinebeck?
They loved it here. Moss was at day school. I think Alice was still at Woodstock Elementary, which I loved to bits.
Yeah.
And Daisy had just finished in middle school in Onteora.
Okay.
And loved that a little bit less. And they all landed here and loved it immediately. But the girls, when they left the day school and went to the elementary school in Woodstock or the middle school in Onteora, they're like, "Oh, it looks like a school.
Yeah,
it looks like all the schools on all the TV shows."
Yeah, exactly. And the day school I feel like I would have thrived at the Woodstock Day School when I was a kid.
Right.
But I feel like there are some kids that just like that kind of traditional structure and the traditional kind of look and feel of a school. And Diego's definitely one of those kids. He just couldn't deal with like the summer camp vibe, you know?
Yeah. I loved the day school, especially the younger grades. But one of the things I liked best about it was if you left one class to go to another thing, you got your coat on and went outside.
Yeah.
And you'd walk across the campus to the art building or the science building or the, whatever.
I think he hated that.
That's funny.
I would have loved that. I would have, because I always wanted to kind of feel more independent when I was a kid.
Right.
It's like single mom, always, she was working overnight. So it was like me and my sisters. And so there was this sense of, independence that you have as a kid. And like my sisters were older. So I always wanted to do stuff that made me feel older. I feel like that would have been like totally right up my alley.
Yeah. Nice. When did you stop wanting to do stuff that made you seem older or more mature or cooler or whatever? All those things are kind of lumped together. I'm answering the question for myself. I'm like, tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel like it probably ended pretty soon because until Diego was born, I feel like I spent a giant chunk of my life trying to be as much of a child as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to smoke cigarettes and I quit.
Same.
And I quit. I don't know. My boy Moss is like 17, so I quit like 16 years ago.
Okay.
And at the time, I was like, "This is the last remnant of my reckless youth."
Yeah.
It's the last thing that's just really bad for you. And apart from Rum Punch.
Yeah. I quit actually the year I moved here. Because his mother and I both smoked. So I tried quitting a few times. But if you're with somebody that's smoking and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And like, you're still smelling it everywhere and you're still seeing packs of cigarettes, like you're not quitting.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many times did you try to quit? And what finally worked?
A few times. I tried the patch a bunch.
Right.
And it just ended up being a different type of drug that I liked. I would still smoke, but I would wear the I would smoke less and I would wear the patch and I would wear it while I slept because it gives you like crazy fucked up dreams.
Oh my God.
Oh, can I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
you can
sorry.
fucking say fucked up if you fucking want to.
And like the most vivid, like real dreams ever. So I was like, I'm just going to keep patching it and smoking.
Yeah. I want to have a patch tonight.
So that didn't work. I tried nicotine gum for a second, but it made me vomit.
Ooh.
Yeah, it turned my stomach. And then the thing that actually helped me was a keto, like paleo-ish diet.
Wow.
Yeah. I ended up reading this whole thing about how when you smoke a cigarette, it pings the same part of your brain that like sugar does and bread and like all that stuff, like all the endorphins and stuff.
Baby cinnamon toast crunch.
Yeah. And if it essentially said like cut all that stuff out and quit smoking and you're not even going to think about a cigarette.
Really?
And I didn't.
I would think the opposite. Like if cigarettes are pinging, the nicotine is pinging the same thing as that, then more of that would sort of take care of that.
No, I cut bread and carbs and everything out. I was just eating like meat and vegetables.
Wow.
I looked awesome, which was also around the time that I started dating my wife.
So great.
And now she's stuck with this.
You look awesome now. I keep saying this.
Yeah, but it totally worked.
Wow. I never heard that. And are you still doing a keto kind of thing?
No, I'm definitely reduced carbs now.
Right.
But I'm eating bread and stuff like that again. It's just trying to go back to it after you did it and then fell off the wagon is so much harder. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people doing keto, and almost all of them, it's been a great success story.
It's also expensive.
Really?
Like eating. I mean, eating healthy is expensive as hell. And I was also going to see a trainer. So I was like at the gym all the time. So I was like kind of able to to kind of sustain that lifestyle. But if I'm just hanging out with toddlers and like not eating bread, then that's just like the seventh ring of hell, you know?
And what do the toddlers eat? What do you feed them?
Well, one of them's allergic to the universe.
Egads.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's Jet and Leo.
Great names.
And Leo is allergic to peanuts, almonds, avocados, milk, dairy, milk and eggs, catch dogs. I forgot what. Like, there's a string of things.
Wow. So you took him in for one of those tests, the patch test or whatever, and and like every patch sort of like blistered over. They're like, yeah, you're allergic to the universe.
We're like kind of microdosing him and
mushrooms.
Like, yeah, exactly. No. And so he doesn't even care.
He doesn't care.
he's just like, I'll eat whatever. Is this dirt?
Yeah, Dad, come look at this. It's so groovy.
No, we're, every now and again we'll give him like a little bit of something that he's allergic to, and we feel like it's getting better. The allergist was like, yeah, like eventually a lot of these things he'll just work out of his system.
So you're building up sort of a tolerance to these things in your kid.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Princess Bride?
Yeah.
Iocane powder? We're feeding him a little bit of poison every day.
That's hilarious. I saw an Onion headline this week, which was so good, because this new Bond movie is coming out.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait. I love the Daniel Craig Bond movies.
I love Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
I love the Daniel Craig Bond movies. Mm-hmm. But I saw the ad, and I'm like, oh, are you 87? It's just, he looked a little bit old for Bond.
I think this is his last one.
And the Onion, you're familiar with this humor thing. I saw an Onion thing on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. It said, Bond franchise in discussions with Wallace Shawn to play Bond in the next Bond flick. Like, that's hilarious. And they had a picture of Wallace Shawn, of course, from The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
He says inconceivable?
Yeah. I do not think this...
Inconceivable.
I do not think this word means what you think it means.
No. It's such a fabulous movie. All right, we're here. What are your other most favorite movies?
Oh, most favorite movies. Love The Princess Bride.
It's so magical.
Yeah.
It's really...
I honestly, I think it is a flawless movie. Like, there's not a lot of those that you can say, and I feel like The Princess Bride is... Okay, actually, no, there's one flaw.
Oh.
There's no brown people in it. And most of the time that is like, that irks the hell out of me. Like, The Lord of the Rings, really Tolkien. But The Princess Bride, aside from that, like, that movie is, like, it's got amazing comedy, drama, romance, like, it's got a little bit of everything, and it does it all so fucking well.
It's really good.
Like, Rob Reiner was...
What a treat to have made a piece of art that's so spectacular.
Yeah.
Like The Princess Bride. And of course, my privilege, I've always been like a white guy in America. Yeah. I never noticed there's no brown people.
That's awesome, by the way. Good job.
Yeah, thanks. I take full credit for being born to upper middle class white parents. That was me. It was my choice. Thank you. Thanks for noticing.
Actually, there are some people in the world, I've had friends that are like, I chose to be in this body.
Well, that's an interesting thing, and it always reminds me of this case, like 15, 20 years ago, the woman out in Spokane, Washington, who was the head of the NAACP out there.
Oh, wait. I'm talking about from a metaphysical standpoint.
Oh, well.
Before I was born, I chose my parents, and that type of,
okay.
Yeah, no, not, what's her name?
I don't know, but, her husband was a black guy, and they had a kid or two, and the kids all were sort of dark-skinned. They were black.
Dolezal.
Oh, my God. I can't believe you're remembering it.
Oh, yeah.
She said that she was black. She lied to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on, she said, well, I identify that way.
Yeah.
And What do you think about that? I know what I think.
I know what I think. I think it's a much longer conversation.
Yeah, we got 4 minutes left. 30 seconds. What do you think of that crap?
I think she's a fucking yutz. And
Yutz. Yeah.
To put it nicely.
Yeah. Is that a Spring Valley term, yutz?
Actually, it's more of a Muncie term, really.
Muncie?
Growing up in Rockland County, there is, I've always said if you're born in Rockland, you're automatically a little bit Haitian, a little bit Jewish, and a little bit of Italian.
I see. So when you say Muncie, you mean the First Peoples, the tribe Muncie?
Well, that's where the name of the town comes. But okay. Muncie, New York, is a very I want to say it's one of the largest Orthodox and Hasidic Jewish communities. In the U.S. and possibly the world. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But Rockland is a very there's a not just Hasidic and Orthodox, but there's a very large Jewish community there. By the time I was 14 or 15, I had 30 some odd yarmulkes from going to all my friends' bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs.
You still have them?
I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did, because they all had everybody's
name and middle name and the date.
Yeah, that's unfortunately part of being a flighty young person, is every time you move around, you kind of end up shedding some stuff and losing a lot of your
it's a great
physical memories.
Shed some stuff. I'm overdue for a move, sadly, because I love where I live.
Yeah, I mean, you live in a good spot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Muncie, those were the first peoples down there in Spring Valley.
Yeah.
And were there any Muncie still alive at that point?
Indigenous?
Yeah.
I've never, growing up in Rockland, I never met any indigenous people down there, which is insanely unfortunate. And
it's tough.
Yeah.
Here in Rhinebeck and Rhinecliff, it was the Sapascot.
Oh, yeah.
Which I always said Sapasco. And somebody actually, I'm trying to remember who the other day said, who knew, had a PhD in First Peoples or whatever.
Yeah.
They said, oh, yeah, it's actually Sapascot. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's the Taconic that everybody drives on is not actually Taconic.
But there are none left. I mean, they were all gone by the time of the Civil War.
Yep.
And it's an interesting thing. I'm doing a land acknowledgement for this event, and so I looked into it. And I spoke to a friend, white guy from Jersey who's got a PhD in American history. He's read everything.
All right.
And then another friend of mine said, "Well, who did you speak to from the local tribes? Which Lenape people did you speak to?" I'm like, "Well, none. I couldn't find anybody." And he said, "Well, they've got a different story." And it's history, it's so slippery, and the people who win get to write the history.
Yeah, and America won the hell out of everything.
Well, by America, you mean probably white Europeans.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we got 40 seconds left. And I'm going to take forever to thank everybody. But it has been ridiculously fun to have you here.
This was a lot of fun.
And once again, I feel like I could just have a whole nother interview with you. Because there's so much interesting stuff going on. But thank you.
Thanks for having me. This was really cool.
Do you have any last comments?
Buy comics, people. They're not just for kids.
What's the address of your store?
15 East Market Street.
What are the hours?
Rhinebeck, New York. Many hours, but we're always open 11 to 6. Megabraincomics.com. And we've got tons of comics for kids and adults.
Great. This has been, correct me if I'm Norm. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.